You know that feeling when everything just clicks? Your mind is sharp, your mood is steady, your body feels like it's firing on all cylinders. That's not luck, that's what your body is capable of every single day. Now, I've looked into a lot of fish oil supplements, and honestly, most of them are mystery sourced, overprocessed, blasted with heat, and packed with synthetic add-ins. But this one is different. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health starts with wild Alaskan salmon and cod, sustainably caught from some of the cleanest waters on the planet, and then it's processed at low temperatures to preserve what actually matters. We're talking about real omega-3s, naturally occurring vitamins A and D, and pro-resolving mediators, or PRMs, that help your body balance its own immune response. What does that mean for you? Clearer thinking, more stable mood, and real nature-based support for your heart and immune system. No shortcuts, no synthetic nonsense. And it was developed by Dr. Jeffrey Bland, a true pioneer in the world of complementary health. If you want to feel the difference, go to bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and use code Hoffman for 20% off site-wide. Once you feel it, you'll know. Welcome back to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman. We're talking to a menopause expert, Dr. Erika Schwartz. She's written a great book entitled The New Hormone Solution, which is an update on her pioneering book, The Hormone Solution, first written in 2002. And she is a teacher. She teaches doctors about correct application of bioidentical hormone replacement, and she is very, very outspoken about the advantages of a customized, tailored, personalized approach to hormone replacement therapy, and has been, I think, vindicated by the science, emerging science on this. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, do you ever give anything besides estrogen and progesterone to women at the time of menopause? Do you believe in balanced hormone replacement therapy with maybe 3 or 4 or more different things?
You knew the answer. You knew I was going to say, of course.
I'm just throwing a high hanging
just like lobbing to me. That's
so you could just hit it out of the park.
I
right?
see. Thank you. Thank you. Well, the interesting thing is that, I started working with hormones in the mid-90s, and I was doing great with estradiol, progesterone. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me that wasn't enough. And then I started adding thyroid and adrenal and testosterone. And the interesting thing is that in those days, people were like, unless you're TSH, you're, pituitary hormone that tells you our definition in medical school for low thyroid. Hypothyroidism is like over, at the time was 8, if you remember.
Yes.
Right? Then they were
you practically had to crawl into the doctor's office to get recognition that you might have a low thyroid.
Right.
Yeah.
You couldn't move. You were fat. You slept for 40 hours a day. It was insane. Anyway, so I started giving people thyroid, and I started giving people adrenal support.
Presumably a bioidentical form of thyroid. Yeah. Balanced T4,
always.
T3. Yeah.
You know what? The other thing is that now you look back and you go, okay, the T3 and T4 that you're getting at the drugstore is still bioidentical because they didn't know how to make it any other way. They only make it the same way as your own body. So they were almost there. But what happened is that when you look at the history of it, initially it was T3, which is the active thyroid hormone, as you know. And that's all you really needed. But then there was some kind of political drama, as we know. And the outcome was that T3 went on the back burner or off the back burner, and the endocrinologists were only giving T4. Mm-hmm. Well, T4 assumes that your body is going to break it down to T3 and use it. Well, I started seeing, I'm sure you've seen it a million times, patients who've been on T4 for 20 years and they feel not so good. So,
but their blood tests were great.
Yeah, exactly. You were treating the TSH. You treat numbers. You don't treat patients. So I started giving them T3, and then I wrote I was invited to write a paper a white paper in the medical clinics of North America, and I wrote about sick euthyroid and how people with, normal TSHs are really not normal because they're not feeling well.
And it's not just in the intensive care unit, as was originally postulated. It's like the walking wounded.
Exactly. The walking wounded, my favorite word. Yes. Anyway, so what happened was that I started adding thyroid, adrenal, then shockingly, obviously testosterone, but then shockingly, I started adding supplements. Now, the interesting thing is, you probably were smarter than me that you figured it out sooner.
I got on board.
I didn't figure it. You got on board really early, right? This like mid-90s, and nobody knows about supplements. You knew about supplements, but there were like maybe 3 people knowing about supplements. And I do this PBS special on hormones, and there's a guy in the audience. The rest of them are women. And there's a guy in the audience, and he comes to me afterwards and he says, I represent one of the supplement companies. You should be trying them, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, to me, supplements, I don't understand them. Remember, I'm a conventional doctor still, kind of. And I'm like, I don't understand what they're doing. I mean, every one of them does everything. It affects everything. So he says to me, well, aren't the drugs you're giving affecting everything? And it was like a light bulb moment in my head. I was like, oh my God, wait, he's right. You take Tylenol for your headache, but it affects your kidneys, it affects your liver, it affects your everything else. You take an antibiotic for a infection. How the hell does it know to go to where your infection is? What about the fact that you're getting a rash and you're not feeling so great as a result of it? And you get muscle cramps. And all of a sudden, these moments of like reality testing started coming to me. And I started saying, well, you know what? Let me learn more about supplements. And so I got involved with supplements. And the beauty of the supplements, as you know, is that they really help. And now the funny thing is that you're talking about another $1 trillion industry, which is the supplement industry, that we don't talk about it because insurance is not paying for it, but people are paying out of their own pocket for it. And it's making their lives better on one hand. On the other hand, it's just taking advantage of them by marketing to every concept. I mean, everything in your mind that comes to mind is marketed. But the thing is, I learned about supplements. I added supplements. And then as I'm adding things, I realized that it's all about lifestyle. And as you know, and you have that book on nutrition right behind you, I was like, I went to medical school in New York, right? And I didn't take a course in nutrition because there was no course in nutrition. And I started learning about nutrition. And all of a sudden, coming from Europe was actually a bonus. I was lucky because my mother cooked, my grandmother cooked. So I at least knew about what's good. And I knew that you're supposed to eat the food that's available at the time of the year that you're eating.
They have much higher standards there. Yeah.
No kidding. Yes. So then I learned about nutrition. Then I went to sleep, then exercise. Then I never went to Eastern medicine, but I learned about meditation and breathing. And all of a sudden, I was able to actually help my patients. My patients taught me a lot, but I started helping. So when you say, did you add things? Yeah, I added everything. And I look at it now that we're all this huge puzzle. And the more pieces of the puzzle you put in, the more likely you are to get the results that you're looking to get.
Do you have a take on DHEA, which is something that is prescribed to both men and women? It's a bit of an anabolic hormone, but it's more of a unisex anabolic adrenal support thing.
Right. So as you said, it's a precursor, right? So that's like, it's not quite a hormone. So you can actually get it without a prescription. So you can get it from any
over the counter.
It's like over the counter, any supplement store. And I've been working with the HEA from the beginning. I think maybe 5 years in, 6 years in, I started adding it. And women, the dosing was obviously different than the men. We were measuring DHA sulfate which actually was really the only thing we had. And remember, we went to medical school, so everything had to be measured in order to know what we're doing instead of just listened to what the patient had to say. But eventually I kind of transitioned out of that. And we started giving DHEA and people love it. And as they get older and the levels drop, giving them DHEA really helps them. So right now I have pretty much everybody in the practice on DHEA. Don't ask me about pregnenolone because I never really got into it because the data that I read, which obviously is one data. I mean, as you know, the data we read leaves a lot to be desired. So the data I read kind of kept me
it's a
little
less well known, I think, than DHEA, but I think it has promise. I think there needs to be more research on that. I want to get invariably in a practice that is holistic and focuses on lifestyle. You deal with women's sexuality, which is a big problem because men have like a plumbing approach to that with ED drugs. We've addressed that fairly well with men, but with women, it's a little bit less of a hydraulic problem that can be addressed with Viagra or Cialis or Levitra. So,
they've tried it.
There is actually the use of that in women, and for some women, they respond to that. Well, what are some of your go-tos in terms of addressing low libido, lack of interest in sex, or difficulty attaining orgasm?
So I wrote a book called The Intimacy Solution. Actually,
it's right in your wheelhouse. Right in your wheelhouse. Yeah.
So the goal of that book was really to explain, and like similar to the hormone solution, that at various ages, things mean different things. So hormonally, when you're in puberty, it's different than when you're menopause, right? When you're pregnant, it's different than after you have a baby. The same thing goes for intimacy and sexuality. At the age of 18, you think that sex and intimacy is the same thing. And by all means, it is the same thing. By the time you get into your mid-20s, late 20s, early 30s, things start shifting. And intimacy and sexuality are not quite the same. And that's
a key insight, I think. I think people confuse the two because they think of, it's sort of like that there's some prescribed number of sex acts that you have to have per week, like the number of push-ups you do or chin-ups that you do. And it's very contextual in terms of where you are in your life cycle.
Right. That's a great point. So that's why I wrote the book, because I saw in my patients and myself as I was getting older how things change. And the other thing is relationships change, right? I mean, if you've been married or in a, pseudo-monogamous relationship for 20 years, it's not going to be the same turn on as when you first met. So the novelty wears off, but maybe the intimacy grows if you're lucky. And if it doesn't grow, you know where you're aiming for. You're going in another direction. Yeah. And maybe it's okay because you know what? I was doing a lot of research on it, and turns out that you're going to love this one. Humans are not any more monogamous sexually as the prairie voles. So the prairie voles
is very monogamous. Yep, that's an animal kingdom model for very, very monogamous relationships and fidelity.
Yeah, but this is the interesting thing. So the prairie voles, and for those of your audience who don't know what they are, they're like these little mice that live in the prairie. Yeah. And they mate with one other prairie vole for life. They create the nest, they make children, they raise the children, they're together the whole lives. They never change, except for once in a while, each one of them goes and has a little bit of sex with someone else, another prairie vole.
So even under the most monogamous species, there's
So humans are not any more monogamous than the prairie voles, who, like you said, are the prototype of monogamy. So
one of the things on prairie vole research, and maybe you found out about this because you looked into it, is that they are we study them because we want to study oxytocin.
Right.
Oxytocin, which is the intimacy hormone that gets released
Correct.
when you hug somebody, when you have sex, that is kind of that cozy hormone.
Mhm.
So that, that is actually something that some doctors prescribe. I don't know if that's under your auspices, for
But the
enhancing
peptides,
intimacy.
so it is. I forgot to tell you, I do peptides a lot. Yes.
Okay. And it is a
So,
peptide. It is a
it is a peptide. So yes, and I teach on peptides too.
peptide.
So oxytocin, it's used as a nasal spray, right?
Right, right.
And a lot of people are using it. And I have to tell you, the data, I hate to sound like a scientist because I don't mean to sound like a conventional scientist, but the data is kind of plus minus.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think as we said, it's about individualized medicine.
Mm.
So if the individual patient likes it, I'll prescribe it. So, as it turns out that some people like it and some people don't like it. The problem with it is that they have to refrigerate it. And that means you have to go to the refrigerator to remember to take it. So that creates a lot of problems.
That's not very romantic.
Excuse me, let me go get some oxytocin.
Sure.
But oxytocin is a great hormone. It's a great peptide. By the way, now that we said that, a lot of hormones are peptides and they're great. And if it works, by all means, there are a lot of possible ways of using them. And I think that, the other thing, we were talking about dogs before, that when you stare in the eyes of your dog who loves you and whom you love,
Yes.
you release a lot of oxytocin.
That's why pets are associated with well-being and longevity. That may be the basis for that. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to be that old woman with the dogs. Yes.
Right. And in full disclosure, Dr. Erika's dogs are being very good. I think under her table, she has 3 very, very well-trained and obedient and quiet dogs.
Oh, really? The dachshunds, I don't know how they could be obedient, but
they've got a mind of their own. But
but they're doing well.
They're doing well during this interview. Okay, folks, at this point, let's pause and allow one of our sponsors an opportunity to share an important message with you.
Are you ready to experience the future of digestive wellness with Dr. Ohhira's new and revolutionary postbiotic fermented food concentrate? Capsule-free and in individual sachet packets that harness the power of 5 years of fermentation and over 500 concentrated bioactive postbiotics. Dr. Ohhira's postbiotic fermented food concentrate is a nutrient-dense paste designed to supercharge your digestive health, aid in nutrient absorption, and support whole body immune wellness. Each sachet packet delivers a potent blend of fermented paste and prebiotics which serve as fuel for your body's own unique gut microbiome. This concentrate supports your entire digestive tract, does not need refrigeration, non-GMO, dairy, and gluten-free. Dr. Ohhira's postbiotic fermented food concentrate. It is the ultimate embodiment of traditional Japanese fermented craftsmanship, designed for those who seek the highest concentration of nature's restorative power in every serving. Ask your natural products retailer for it today or online at essentialformulas.com.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting our sponsors. They, of course, are what make intelligent medicine a continuing free resource to you. And now back to today's guest, Dr. Erika Schwartz. You also espouse, I think, a little bit of unconventional views about exercise. You write that over-exercising is an American disease. And if that is a disease, I may have succumbed to it because I'm big into, challenging exercise on a regular basis. I bike, I swim, I run, I lift weights. You think that we're overdoing it, that there's a kind of a happy medium?
Of course. Well, first of all, you're a guy, so we have to put that on the table.
Right.
So guys, you know what? I think you're in great shape. You look amazing. So obviously, you know what you're doing. But I think one of the things I see a lot, and I was just talking to one of my male patients, and we have like half males, half females in the practice, and the guy feels the need to exercise like for 2 hours a day. And as he got older and he's now in his 60s, he's like exercising 2 hours a day. And I'm like, wait, your body actually needs the time to recover and to build the muscles. And that does not occur while you're running like a lunatic, on the treadmill. So what I mean by overexercising is not understanding, and that's something we need to explain to people, that you need the downtime to build the muscles.
Yeah. And even professional weightlifters know this, because they don't throw heavy weights, 7 days a week. They have workouts and they have recovery, and that's how the muscles consolidate and repair, and then become larger and stronger.
Right, exactly. But I think that it becomes really important because as we get older and we realize that it's not about cardio and aerobic exercises as much, and everybody's wearing, their auras and whoops and everything else. I think we need to stop staring at those things and start looking at ourselves and seeing how we feel. And I think that if you really feel good, by all means, do your thing.
Yep.
If you don't feel good, I think you need to take it easy. And also what I see a lot, and I'm sure you do too, is that people are not eating enough. As they get older, they don't eat enough to sustain the muscle mass.
Yep.
I mean, I see young people. I mean, I work with this great trainer who's 34 years old, who's amazing. And the guy, I had to have a whole conversation with him about eating fat because he was like obsessively, I mean, he's not eating fat.
He subscribes to that low-fat dogma that is so prevalent. But I believe that you probably get away with most of anything until you're about that age. That's where that's the age when professional basketball players and football players, baseball players tend to go into a little bit of a decline. It's inevitable. There is a performance decline that is age related, and I think we have to be cognizant of that and not drive our bodies beyond our capacity. But you seem to be a proponent of a diet that is higher in protein.
Yeah, I've never been into the Atkins or keto extreme. And actually, I was talking to this guy the other day who was like a bodybuilder, really amazing guy. And he's like obsessive about keto diets. And listen, whatever works for you works for you. But when you're 30, you're great. You can get away with a lot. When you're 50 and 60 and 70 and whatever, you need to actually start titrating, like tweaking things. And I think that I am definitely into proteins. And I think the more protein, the more amino acids you get in, the more likely you are to maintain your muscle mass, because I call muscle the currency of youth. And I'm sure you know what that means, right? But I think you also have to think about what else you're putting in there, because you need carbohydrates, because your body will crave them and then you'll be eating junk, right? And carbohydrates like rice and potatoes, not a lot, but there are people who like,
in moderation.
Women, especially women, they obsessively will not touch carbohydrates for years. And I think that's actually dangerous. And I think that fats are important. And I think they also have to change. You can't be the same. You can't eat the same diet your whole life. You have to rotate them. And I think my thing is, don't get involved in like these obsessive, like you're doing this diet and you cannot do anything else. Because when you're done with it, you're going to get into trouble because you'll go back to whatever you want it to be.
You'll revert back. You have some kind of a little bit iconoclastic views about the osteoporosis drugs, because it's thought that, these are like almost mandatory for most women after the age of 50. They're dishing them out like water. But do you feel that there are other ways to support bone health and that these drugs should be left for only extreme circumstances?
Or just thrown out?
Oh, okay. Much.
Yes.
What's your beef with them?
Well, my beef with them is that you're not missing those drugs. You're missing whatever you need, the substrates to have your bones strong, right? So what will make your bones strong, right? Well, muscles will make your bones strong, right? People taking a ton of calcium is kind of a waste of time. They're just going to create kidney stones, right? They're not going to help themselves. So hormones will help your muscles. Hormones will help you build muscles. Like everybody's on creatinine. I'm sure you're taking creatine.
Absolutely take
So we're all taking creatine.
Creatine.
Creatine. Okay.
Right.
I didn't mean creatinine.
It's the blood test, right? Yeah.
Right. That's right. Right. So creatine is a wonderful way to support your muscle growth.
I'm a big fan of it.
Testosterone, estrogen. There are a lot of ways to have your bones supported by your muscles. So if you have muscles, you don't need drugs because you're not missing those drugs. You're missing the commitment to building muscles.
Yeah. So, finally, in this climate of political controversy about the appointment of RFK Jr., what's your take on the MAHA movement? Do you feel that it offers some hope for turning around the medical system? Because as a physician, you're a little bit of an iconoclast. You've stepped away from the mold.
Yeah, I stepped away from the mold a long time ago. So now I don't even feel out. When you called me an iconoclast, I was like, is she talking to me about me? But you're right. Because I actually am more of a truth teller because I went into medicine to be a healer. And then, I come from a family of doctors and I was a healer. I wanted to be a healer. And then I became a trauma surgeon. And I was like, this is not it's healing somebody when they're dying. And that's good. Then I went into internal medicine and I realized that was totally not what I was looking for. And then I started turning and I took this turn. And then I started telling the truth, which was we don't know half the things we're talking about. And the things we're talking about should actually be helping people. And if you're not helping people and you're keeping them scared, you're not doing your goal, your job of being a healer. So I didn't even want to be an MD, but as it turns out, I stayed an MD. And now I'm okay with being an MD. And when you're talking about MAHA movement, I think the MAHA movement should have nothing to do with politics. It should be about making America healthy again. We should, you know what? I look at patients and they bring me all kinds of charts and people to look at because everybody has family members they want me to look at. I'm sure you hear it all day long. And one thing that I find really strange is that the diagnoses in the conventional system do not mention obesity as the core reason for the problem. They'll be talking about hypertension, diabetes, arthritis, all kinds of things, right? But nobody says obesity.
They're not looking
and
at
as far as I'm
cause of the common denominator of all those conditions and puts it all together.
Exactly. And to me, obesity is the root cause of the problem. And I think that obesity is really what we've created in this country by feeding people junk, by teaching them that junk is okay, by becoming sedentary, and by not exercising and by not eating healthy foods. And I think that it's time to change that. So I'm all for it. And I've been doing that in my practice as well as the teaching I'm doing for a friend.
Well, indeed, you're a really shining example of how to take, a great academic background. You were trained in the belly of the beast, so to speak, in terms of
exactly
strict orthodox medicine, but you've applied a lot of creativity and open-mindedness and study to ways to further the health of your patients. And
it's reality. You do it. Everybody, we're all trying to actually take care of the patients and help people enjoy their best lives. They shouldn't be going to the doctor scared. They shouldn't be intimidated. They shouldn't be bullied. I'm finishing the re-release of a book that I wrote 10 years ago called Don't Let Your Doctor Kill You. And that'll come out in a few months.
I'm there for that. We'll get you back on to talk about that. Great title, by the way.
Yeah, but I actually updated it by talking about COVID and about AI and how AI should really be replacing the algorithm, the protocol world, and the high-touch medicine needs to be kept to the doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good stuff.
So
Well, I look
that's what
very
I'm
much
doing.
forward to that. Okay, so
Me too.
once again, give out the information about your practices in New York City, and do you see patients via telemedicine? Because this broadcast goes out all over the country and all over the world.
We've been seeing patients from a long time ago. We had telemedicine. We have patients all over the world. So we're happy to help in any way possible. There's 3 practitioners in the practice with me. And our goal is to really make people feel better, support them, quarterback their care, and interact with everybody else, and make sure that the patients are not scared or intimidated by the system.
Great stuff. Once again, your website?
ES Health. That's like Erika Schwartz, Evolve Science, ESHealth.com. And my Instagram is at DRERIKA Schwartz.
Great stuff.
So that's it.
Thank you very
can find
much,
me. Thank
Erika,
you.
Dr. Erika, and congratulations
Dr.
on the updated version of the new hormone solution, which has all the latest
Thank you.
information. Great stuff. I
Thank
thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Ron. Pleasure.
Yeah, it was my pleasure as well. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or your favorite podcast app, and get new episodes automatically downloaded every weekday. And please give us a rating and review. It truly helps new people discover intelligent medicine. The Intelligent Medicine Podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions. Finally, please visit drhoffman.com and discover everything intelligent medicine has to offer, including frequently updated, unbiased health news and fully vetted product and supplement recommendations. There were many important reasons why I started my FullScript online supplement dispensary. I wanted to offer you the same curated professional-grade supplement brands that I use, the ones I know and trust. I also wanted to ensure that they weren't counterfeit or expired. Recently, I've been hearing more and more about counterfeit or expired products purchased from online retailers. With FullScript, you can be confident your supplements are genuine and they'll arrive with optimal freshness and potency. Also, buying through FullScript offers fast, free shipping, optional refill reminders, and a highly rated mobile app. It's safe, secure, HIPAA-compliant, and offers world-class support. Go to drhoffmanstore.com for more information and to start your free FullScript account. You'll get access to the supplements and features you need to help you achieve your wellness goals, including my custom targeted protocols that combine the products I recommend to address specific needs, heart health, immune support, and much more. To get started, just go to drhoffmanstore.com, drhoffmanstore.com.